And now, here's your What's the 411 news brief.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to What's the 411 News. And today we got California Governor Newsom proposes $100 million to the so-called Native American Indians. All right, let's check out what this is about. All right, Governor Newsom proposes $100 million to support tribal-led initiatives that advance shared climate and conservation goals. All right. Looks like the funding would help to implement tribal priorities, including ancestral land access, co-management, conservation, and return of tribal lands. All right. At today's California Truth and Healing Council meeting, Governor Gavin Newsom announced a budget proposal to establish a $100 million funding opportunity to strengthen partnerships with California Native American tribes to achieve the state's ambitious climate, and conservation goals. The proposed funding would support tribal initiatives that advance shared climate and biodiversity goals, including research, development, and implementation of traditional knowledge, workforce training, capacity building, and technical support, and tribal, natural, or nature-based climate conservation programs, among others. Too often, California Native American tribal communities are overlooked and suffer many of the worst impacts of climate change, as if nobody else does, according to Governor Newsom. The California way is not to hide from our past, really, but to embrace it with a commitment to build upon our values of inclusiveness and equity for everyone who calls this state home. And I hope you are listening to these choice of words that is being used, all right? In 2020, Governor Newsom called for accelerated use of nature-based solutions to combat the climate crisis through Executive Order N-8220. The order called for a cohesive strategy to improve management of the state's diverse landscapes to protect climate vulnerable communities, safeguard biodiversity, achieve carbon neutrality, improve public health and safety, and expand economic opportunity. Two major initiatives were launched as part of this strategy: a major new conservation goal and a first ever strategy to expand climate smart land management. The state committed to conserve 30% of state lands and coastal waters by 2030, becoming a leader in an international effort referred to as 30 by 30. During public workshops for these initiatives, it was clear that California Native American tribes offered significant solutions and a willingness to partner with the state. State agencies are finalizing a natural and working lands climate smart strategy that will identify the state's priorities for managing our landscapes to meet California's ambitious climate goals. We heard loud and clear in our consultations with more than 70 different California Native American tribes. That's 70 different California Native American tribes. A strong desire from tribal governments to play a leading role in restoration and conservation efforts that benefit tribal communities, and honor their connections to the lands and waters, said California Natural Resources Secretary Wade Crowfoot. Tribes also identified a need for capacity building resources to participate more centrally in California's conservation and climate efforts. This proposed funding can make that collaboration possible. Under the governor's budget proposal, the California Natural Resources Agency, or the CNRA, would manage the new tribal funding commitment. Already this year in related programs, the California Natural Resources Agency, CNRA, and its entities have awarded funds to tribes for a wide variety of projects, including the Ocean Protection Council through their Prop 1 grant program funded $1,276,951 to the Wyatt tribe for the purchase of 48 acres and restoration of their ancestral land that will also strengthen coastal resiliency in the Humboldt coastline, and $772,602 in youth access grant funds to the Torres Martinez Desert Cahuilla Indians, Robinson Rancheria of Pomo Indians, and the Wyatt tribe. Governor Newsom acknowledged the California Native peoples have lived interdependently with and stewarded this environment since time immemorial, and that the state has a role in the violent disruption of that relationship. As we have heard over the last few days, removing California Native people and practices from the places they have lived and thrived in since time immemorial has had far-reaching negative impacts, including many of the climate challenges we are currently experiencing, said Governor's tribal advisor, Christina Snyder. This proposal, which anticipates a tribally and informed process, is a step in the right direction to begin to honor what California Native peoples have been through and respectively defer to tribal communities as the first people of this place. By collaborating with tribes, we will be able to incorporate solutions driven by the first peoples of this state to build a more resilient, equitable, and thriving future for all Californians. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what do you guys think about this story? It's quite interesting. They're looking at the Native people as the first peoples, but when you look at the native, quote unquote, Native peoples, are they of a darker hue equal to what Black folks look like today? And it's interesting who they're giving money to. And once again, now they're proposing, this governor, although it's in the state, you're still looking at everything as a whole. You're proposing $100 million for the Native American Indians in California. Ukrainian people are going to be given some funds for help, and some HBCUs, or an HBCU, as you guys know, is giving Ukrainians free schooling. Afghan people getting money, Asian people getting the federal hate crimes bill when they're not even on the top list of the most hated people. According to FBI's reports, it's Black people who are hated the most, but yet the Asians got a hate crimes bill. The Asians got money as well. The Latino people coming across the border also was said to be funded by Biden, or in order to give them money to be funded by Biden. And we can just keep going on and on and on. I think there's something new that's coming out, or has already come out, that Biden wants to give money to. And yet they're trying to pass, if it hasn't passed, a lynching bill, which has nothing to do with Black folks. They just using the word lynching. But yeah, it's a fake. It's just something else to throw out there instead of throwing money like they throw the money to everybody else, other groups. They just don't want to give money to Black folks. So that's just another attempt to not put out those reparations owed for all those free slave labor that Black folks used to build the United States, or so-called United States. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think about this story. This is What's the 411, and we out of here. Peace.
And now, here's your What's the 411 news brief.